Do you know what that is? That sound, that perplexing wavelength piercing your very soul.
Well, it's actually just the menu music for Ball Breakers released by Take-Two Interactive on PlayStation 1 in 2000.
But that doesn't matter. It's the music. That's what matters. This video's about music. Music is a driving force. Music in video games is super important, and I'm gonna talk about it.
Especially these early PlayStation 1 titles. I don't know what they were smoking. Pizza? Were they smoking pizza? Can you do that? I don't know. Nevertheless, we'll go into it. I'll touch on some tracks that I like, and then kind of explain how music can really change the way you perceive things. There's a few situations in games that I feel like really were driven by the music. First, let's break down a little history about music in video games. Music wasn't always in video games. We used to have this. Yeah, that was great, wasn't it? Well, it's a good thing they got their act together. Really, it was just due to the limitations. The Atari 2600 didn't have much to work with. The NES was years, literally, ahead of Atari as far as sound font goes. We'll take a look at a few examples. Super Mario 3, for instance. Mario 3 soundtrack is a little bit more extensive than the original Super Mario Bros. And Super Mario Bros. 2. It was one of the final titles that came out on the NES, so I guess you could say they really kind of worked it out. Some of these tracks are really renowned, like the World 1 map theme. And the Underground theme is kind of just a twist on the original. Sidestepping over to Castlevania, quite a few memorable tracks in this one. They reused a couple of them for different levels. They're all pretty extensive though, which is great considering how goddamn long you're gonna spend on each frickin' level. But I digress, it's about immersion. I think the songs really fit where they are. Zelda, on the other hand, doesn't have as many tracks as Castlevania, but they are extremely memorable. Considering each Zelda game essentially remakes the original theme, which isn't a bad thing, it's pretty great, but I think they're really perfect for the environment you're in game. And as far as a song playing in the background as you're a small green dude with a sword walking around in the middle of nowhere, I think they make you feel pretty heroic. The Super Nintendo, however, kind of took things to the next level. The console, known as the Super Famicom in Japan, it had 8 different sound channels that you could use at one time. This meant that composers had a lot more freedom when designing songs. F-Zero, for example, was one of the flagship titles for the Super Nintendo, and you can tell the sound is just quite a bit more elaborate than something you would get on the NES. Same goes for this track from Earthbound, where you can just hear there's a lot more emotion you can put into a song. Games have situations. Situations require ambience. Besides whatever noise the player makes or noises that NPCs make, music can be a great way to tie things together. Give certain situations meaning or foreshadowing. But enough about that. Other types of media have that incorporated as well. Be that television shows or movies. But games are different. You're in a game. You're there. You're doing the thing that's doing you. Fast forward to 1996. I'm -1 years old. Everything looks like those styrofoam cups you get from the gas station, and the Nintendo 64 is released. But wait a minute. What is that?
After all, the controller looks like it could be used on some kind of military jet.
It's a fork, like for macaroni? It's a controller, stupid! The Nintendo 64 opened a whole new world of opportunities for composers. You could literally write a song, like you normally would, if you wrote songs. That's a thing that you do. The Nintendo 64 played actual music, like you could record music and put it into the game, which is fantastic. Well, not exactly. The music created in an N64 game is actually made using MIDI usually, which is kind of like a combination of real instruments and synthesized instruments recorded. This meant, however, that you could make some bangin' tracks, like the magnificent Dire Dire Docks theme from Mario 64. Or the Kokiri Forest theme from Ocarina of Time. What really matters is that the options became open now. Music could be developed for a game console that could be anything you wanted as long as you had the notes. The console limitations were cast aside and creativity had free reign. Which sets us up for our next segment.
Video game music tracks so good they make one want to curl up into a ball and cry.
I mentioned how some songs, like in Castlevania, just create the perfect environmental atmosphere for what you're doing in-game. Some tracks, however, just went freaking over and above. And I love them. Here are a few examples. Most of these are on PlayStation 1 because that's really my personal experience, but I'm sure everybody else has had experiences like this as well. The menu theme from Shooter Starfire Sanvian. This game's probably as obscure as it gets, or at least I think, but goddamn, that's amazing. same game, but this is one of the songs that play when you're just doing the standard levels throughout the game. The boss music has no right to be this good. But in this game, the environment's kind of limited. You're in a hexagon, so I guess they could come up with whatever they want to immerse you. They did a hell of a job. Here's a look at one of my favorites, Colony Wars Red Sun. This is actually the third Colony Wars game, but I only played this one. They went with a whole frickin' orchestra and band. The explosions in this game are a little over the top. And kind of unrelated, but getting locked on by somebody is kind of terrifying. Mayday! 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 But it's got a Space Odyssey vibe. If I was bald and had to save the galaxy, this is what I'd want to hear. Another one that really won me over was Driver for the PlayStation 1. I literally hum the menu theme every freaking day, at least once. And I kind of relate to this game on a personal level because my name's Tanner and the guy's name's Tanner. Anyway, you're placed into different scenarios in this game, being different cities. They've got tracks for San Francisco and Miami, and then alternate tracks for the day and night versions of those maps. I think this separation of the two tracks is really good between night and day. I feel like they invoke a different atmosphere, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. Jesus Christ! Anyway, these are just a few of my favorites. I'll touch on a few more songs from this era a little bit later, but now I'm going to highlight something a little different. This is a little something that I like to call theming. Okay. This could refer to other things, but I'm talking about music that kind of holds a running theme in certain games. Some games have many, many different songs, but a lot of their songs kind of sound similar, like they have the same structure almost. This is certainly on purpose, I would imagine, but certain games perhaps considered franchise games, you can kind of expect what the music's gonna be like, and not just because they use the same composer. A fantastic example of this would be Undertale. Now, not every single one of Undertale's songs are similar, but a lot of songs use the same key notes, and structured the same as well. Undertale has a lot of this, actually. So here's 4 examples in 4 different songs. The first one being the opening song, Once Upon a Time. And then, of course, the menu theme actually uses the same sequence. An excerpt from the song Home. And the track Hopes and Dreams. I'm sure there's actually more than this, but these are just the ones that I wanted to put in. Now, Undertale is kind of an outlier in this, and I kind of consider it an extreme version of what I meant when I said theming. It also doesn't really fall into the quote-unquote franchise games category that I mentioned earlier. This next game, however, does. It also brings about another category I'd like to cover called game music that invokes strong emotion. Okay, you get the idea. I'ma talk about Halo. Halo is many things, but Halo music, it's of divine origin. I'm gonna level with you for a sec. In all seriousness, Halo fucking changed me. Now, I love all of the previous songs I mentioned, but Halo music is something else. Just like re-listening to what I just played for you gave me freaking goosebumps trying to record this. When I first played Halo 3, I couldn't take it. My 10-year-old mind just couldn't handle it. I watched the first cutscene and then I ripped the bathroom door clean off its hinges.
I need a weapon.
I gained the strength of thousands. I don't know a whole lot about drugs, but I think listening to Halo music is the equivalent of getting like an adrenaline shot. I can smell colors and see sounds. Halo music is a league above any other game, in my opinion. Again, let me reiterate, I loved all those previous songs I put, but Halo music is, I don't know what it is. Scratch that, I do know what it is. I have not played a single game that can invoke the emotion that Halo has given me. If any game makes you feel heroic, it's Halo. And not only because you're like an 8-foot-tall, 700-pound super soldier or whatever, energy shields or whatever gun you like, and you drive tanks and warthogs. The music, though, it's just incredible. But don't just take my word for it. Hi there. Okay, I could probably get really off topic just talking about Halo, but let's touch on some other things. In my mind, music's kind of like the glue of the game. It holds everything together. You can have a really good game, but without the right music, it just kind of falls flat. I don't really want to come up with any examples for that because that's kind of sad. But when the combination of good gameplay and good music just hit in the middle, it's fantastic. I think Halo's a great example of that. So up to this point, I've kind of isolated the songs I've played into categories like theming and strong emotions, and I don't even remember what the first one is now. But now I'm going to give you just some songs that I think just are incredible. They just work really well with what game they're in, and they're great. So I couldn't go this whole video without mentioning my favorite game, Team Buddies. You've probably never heard of this game unless I myself have told you about it.
Hey pal, you ever heard of Team Buddies? Now you have.
Team Buddies is a rather obscure PlayStation 1 game. It was released like a month before the PS2 was released, but it was not released on the PS2. I've never met anybody who's heard of Team Buddies. Nevertheless, the music. We're talking about the music. Team Buddies soundtrack is fantastic. My favorite song in the lineup is called Dirtbox Desert. I don't think you would have known that unless you looked it up. Nothing in-game notates what the names of the songs are, but it's what plays in the background whenever you're on the desert levels. I would always pick the desert level in multiplayer just so I could hear the song. Paired with the cool fire-based weapons and the stealth tank that you get in the desert world, World 3 and Team Buddies was my favorite. And I think a lot of that credit is given to the music. And there's ninjas. Hiya! Moving on, this next song is just dubbed VR Training. It's what played when you did the training missions in the game. Every world, Team Buddies had an entire level dedicated to training. It would show off new ways to do different things and stuff like that. Not that I ever needed any training, but the music in that level was just different. It was different than the rest of the music in the game. I thought it was awesome. Have a listen. I don't have any idea what year it was when I first listened to this song. To me, though, it had such a futuristic feeling. There's a couple different songs in different games that feel like they were going to be the future of music. This is what music would sound like in 10 or 15 years. Man, were we robbed. Instead of cool PlayStation 1 Team Buddies VR training music, we got William Eyelash and Friday to Sunday. And they're fine, who cares? Moving right along. Now, if you're a Zelda fan of any kind, you probably know this next song, Dragon's Roost Island. Wind Waker is just all around a joy to play. It's colorful, it's fun, you get to look at Link's smug little face, and it's got witty humor too. Most people actually didn't like Wind Waker when it came out. After Ocarina of Time, they were kind of teased of GameCube level graphics with a game like Ocarina, which eventually led to the development of Twilight Princess. But Wind Waker is a masterpiece, and looking back, a lot of people consider it one of the greatest Zelda games. And Dragon's Roost Island is maybe considered the best song. With the release of Breath of the Wild and now the release of Tears of the Kingdom, they actually brought back Dragon's Roost Island. It's a remix for sure, but in the Rito Village, you can hear it playing in the background. Definitely wanted to include it in this list as one of the songs that I think is just fantastic in the game. Circling back to Halo, well, kind of. As far as songs go that make you feel heroic, it's hard not to mention the Smash Bros. Melee theme. I think the Melee theme has that in spades. Really, any of the Smash Bros. Music has that, but that's kind of the goal. It's a fighting game. Out of all the Smash themes, though, I think Melee has to take the cake for me. They ended up remastering it in the later games, and it's just as good, in my opinion. And it's instantly recognizable. As soon as you start to hear the first notes, you immediately know it's the Melee theme. Gotta admit, I don't think there's any other song I'd rather hear while getting my ass kicked. Most people are pretty familiar with the Smash menu themes. Everybody's got their favorite, too. This just happens to be mine. Now we're gonna talk about the Yoshi's Island. I sure hope it does. Yoshi's Island, baby! I love this game! As mentioned in the Fish video, this was one of my few games I had for the Game Boy Advance. One song in particular, though, kind of caught my eye. The Underground theme. Now, as I said, I had this game on the Game Boy Advance, not the Super Nintendo. I have played the Super Nintendo version. Actually, last year was the first time I played it. I bought a copy. The music is slightly different, not structure-wise, but just in medium? The Game Boy Advance version is more pixely, I guess. Either way, have a listen to both versions and see what you think. So yeah, one of my favorites. A lot of people know the Athletic theme, which, if you listen real quick. Yeah, we've all heard it. But I think I'll round it out with this one. Looking back, this whole video is kind of a jumbled up mess, but it's fine. Really, I just wanted people to kind of pay attention more to the music in games. It's fantastic, and it does a way to help drive the game forward. Like it does in movies or other media, music can push the narrative, like hard. A situation can make a world of difference with the right song added to it. So yeah, this wraps up the music video. Well, not music video, but video about music in video games. The video game music video. I'm done. I gotta stop. Anyway, thanks for watching.